Alright, listen. So you've got the new Apex Legends Season 11 update in your hands. You've probably found your main by now, cough cough Ash. The car SMG is working wonders for you as we speak. But through the grind, it's probably been a little rough for you to sort out your favorite spot to land at, hence the new map Storm Point being 15% bigger than World's Edge. Allow me to show you around one of the larger and hotter locations that's been a go-to for me since launch. We'll get into the specifics, how to take fights and vantage points at such a high tier loot location, as I do want to show you guys how playing your environment and knowing different map locations filters into your game awareness 100%. That's to say, I'll be back with different map POI videos all throughout Season 11, showing us how to work these locations in detail. So make sure you join me. Tap that subscribe button, be sure to turn on those post notifications and stay up to date so that you don't miss a video. My weekly 2K Apex Legends coin giveaway, let alone a stream. Don't hesitate to check out that beautiful Discord in the description below. If you like what you see today, show some love to that like button. It's your boy TheeConciseKing, keeping it short, sweet, and concise. Let's get to this video.
Okay, Ash. Okay. She working.
I can feel the world get farther. Every year the stars get darker.
Barometer, the heart of Storm Point. Some have even begun to call it the skull town of Storm Point. I like to think Cascade Falls would beg to differ with its smaller compounds made for close combat, but nonetheless, I can see how Barometer may be a better fit. It has a spinning platform packed with high tier loot, which is overlooked by a research tower that gives you major, and I mean major, height advantage all over the POI. With that being said, there's at least 6 points of entrance I've came to find suited for dropping directly on loot so that you can make the best of your combat, and I mean right away. Supply bins, let's talk about them. Like any POI, you can find supply bins scattered all across the area. Let's work our way around. If you're landing north of the spinning platform, there's a few supply bins coming off of that zipline shaft. Now underneath the spinning platform, there's a total of about 6 supply bins to the left or the right, whichever way you're standing, usually stacked with weapons and heals. This is good to know because usually fights are going to drop down there. It's an abandonment area and there's usually weapons in those supply bins, so definitely hit those. Now the research tower holds supply bins as well on both the first and the very top floor, accessible through a zip line. Top floor, you can find them scattered along the balcony outside, and on the bottom floor, just outside each entrance of the research tower. The buildings on the outskirts of Barometer hold supply bins as well surrounding it, and speaking of those buildings, let's talk about some vantage points. So because Barometer is one of the largest POIs, it's usually looked at the most when deciding where to land. It's visible. Barometer again is a high tier loot spot, so you'll find many players landing at the obvious vantage points, that being the spinning platform and the research tower. If you didn't know, on that spinning platform there's usually a level 2 and a level 3 evil shield, which calls for such high contesting, while the research tower is usually occupied with great weapons and loads of supply bins. Those are the 2 biggest vantage points of Barometer, but with that being said, they're super difficult to defend. A bridge connecting the 2 would have been too easy, so Respawn went for implementing several zip lines as your point of advance. Sure, having high ground allows for you to overlook all of Barometer and oncoming attacks, but if you're not a defensive legend, it's going to be your fight against game audio and situational awareness that may get you killed. There's just a bit too many zip lines and doors to keep track of while you sit in your sniper's nest trying to get a knock, so repositioning and rotating is going to be key all around Barometer. The last vantage point I want to give you guys that I've noticed a lot of my fights have gravitated towards are the 4 miniature platforms that too contain a little bit of loot surrounding the center spinning platform. I say these are great vantage points because they too overlook both of the surrounding beachfront compounds, which we'll get to next. You'll find that squads rotating in from those little buildings and compounds are coming in on low ground and they have to climb their way up to that center spinning platform. With very little coverage, be cautious of climbing up that platform yourself from both sides, because again, many of the battles here at Barometer have either started on those smaller platforms or ended with me and my teammates getting murdered on low ground. Now our last topic of the day, let's talk about taking fights. In other words, where to land. If you're looking to take it slow, want to give yourself some time to loot before taking on fights, I suggest landing just south of the research tower. You'll find this spot is usually a bit quieter while everyone else aims for the more hotter spots. Keep in mind, this is one of the smaller compounds on this POI, so oftentimes I find less variety of weapons and I usually have to quickly rotate to the supply bins sitting just outside of the research tower. The main beachfront area known as Quarry Crossing that leads to the smaller POI called Southern Point is one of the more favorable areas for me. I'm usually landing here if I'm dropping late to Barometer. You will typically find one of the squad here, which is good for getting that first fight momentum going so that you'll get set up and take on the rest of the action happening in Barometer. This area does have two-story compounds with multiple supply bins scattered all around it. The outside area, I just love fighting here. It kind of allows me to take it slow with one squad. With very little squads landing here, using it as a last resort sort of a thing, fights that happen here tend to happen in these buildings, I've noticed. So now would be the great time to get yourself familiar, if you haven't already, with the buildings, spots that you can climb, and most importantly, where the staircase entrances are. That's where you're going to be held out the most. So you have to get familiar with how you want to position in your fights, and that's knowing your surroundings, and that's the biggest step you can take. The east side compound is twice as hot compared to the other. You can always expect resistance here, at least 2 to 3 squads. Another 2 compounds to play with, of course, with surrounding supply bins, and yet again, playing to your building knowledge will be key. The loot on this end is a bit more favorable as well, and this particular area really brings about that Skull Town loot and hustle kind of intensity. So you can expect to take a good fight or two before hitting the rest of the POI. Last but not least, anything dead center of the Barometer POI is where you'll meet the most resistance, i.e. the spinning platform under the spinning platform, which usually sees a lot of fights too. Now that zip that connects to the research tower is where you're gonna see the most action. That's the devil zip right there. Between that and the spinning platform, it's a heavily contested area. You have the replicator as well as the respawn beacon placed in those 2 spots, so you'll find yourself fighting it out with the team trying to control high ground. Now the biggest tip I can give you here when taking fights on Barometer is to deal your damage and reposition with awareness. There are so many openings for several teams to attack, and as difficult as it is to avoid third parties, you want to continue to move with the fights. Be aggressive and patrol the area you wish to claim.
One less enemy. Reloading.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Barometer. It's your boy TheeConciseKing, keeping it short, sweet, and concise, because what other way? If you enjoyed today's video, remember guys, I do have a like goal on this video of 15 likes, so show some love. I'll see you guys in a few days with another Apex Legends POI update. Maybe we'll take a trip to Cascade Falls, not sure yet, but make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss a single upload. Turn on those post notifications. We would love to have you pop in the stream on Twitch, and until next time, thank you guys for the support, always. I'll see y'all in the next Apex Legends video, and the next Apex Legends live stream, and of course, always, in the Apex Legends arena. Peace.
Shields are depleted. Recharging. It seems you cannot be taught.
I can feel the world getting farther. Every year the stars get